Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show. I'm your host, Jim Masters. We named this really easily, didn't we? The Jim Masters Show, Jim Masters. The YouTube channel is Jim Masters TV. Tried to make it simple and easy breezy for everybody. We're living in complicated times, so we didn't want it to be too crazy. We've done over 760 episodes, which I cannot believe, of our entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series, where we are truly bringing back the lost art of conversation. It's so great to have you here from wherever you're watching, all around the world. Our viewers come in, as we always say, from the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, everywhere. Thanks for all the great comments, all the levity, as we call it, on our Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram, all at Jim Masters TV. Here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Matter of fact, we encourage and welcome you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Doesn't cost a dime. Not sure why they call it subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. It's Jim Masters TV, and you can binge watch hundreds and hundreds of episodes with guests that have come in from all levels of celebrity, music and television, film and stage, food and authors and sports, comedy, everything, all for you. Because I like variety, like an old school talk show series with a modern twist, modern vibe of today. And our Levity Squad is in play right now. That's the viewers who watch all the time. If you don't know what that is, well, you can be a part of the Levity Squad as well, just by watching. And matter of fact, if you'd like to comment right now while the show is on, all you have to do, because we have our JMS Levity chat room open and available for you right now. That's exclusive for subscribers. Again, doesn't cost anything, but you can comment. You can say hello to each other, the other viewers that are watching from around the world. You can say hello in our JMS Levity chat room when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Jim Masters TV. Don't forget to click that notification bell too, so you never miss any of the episodes of our series, live or otherwise. And I think that's really, really cool. So we welcome everybody. For you watching for the first time, we're here in the New York area, the New York City area, along the southern New England coast between New York and Boston. That's where this show originates from. And boy, do we have a terrific guest right here on the Jim Masters Show. This is really cool because not only is he, and he's humble about it too, but he's a great singer, country music singer, songwriter. But he's also the founder and creator of this really amazing company that helps others, even major stars, go even further in their careers, and also in a beautiful way helps stage a lot of these amazing events and concerts and celebrations. I'm talking about Scott Scovill. Country music, singer, songwriter, yes, but founder and creator of Moo TV and Moo Creative, which is really where his heart and soul absolutely is. He has a great time with the audience. He's a great entertainer. In as much as he is a fantastic creative person, he's a great entertainer himself. He loves to get out there, get on stage, work the audience. But let me tell you, this company that he created, and there he is having a good time, and we're going to talk about all this. The company he created is absolutely amazing. He's coming to us today from Nashville, Tennessee. And at the time of this broadcast, he will then be headed off to Dublin, Ireland, working with Garth Brooks, who he's worked with. He's toured with Alan Jackson as well. Scott is the president and founder of Moo TV, Moo Creative, the steel mill, and partner for CenterStaging. He began in the touring industry with U2. Yeah, the famous U2. At the age of 19, has spent much of his young adulthood traveling the world, implementing concert video systems with acts such as David Bowie and the Rolling Stones. In 92, he received an offer to tour with Alan Jackson, which led him to start Moo TV, a company that specializes in live concert video production. In 2010, expanding on the success of Moo TV, he created Moo Creative Media, which develops and implements video content for live events and shows, which is really exciting. Could you imagine having an opportunity to be involved in all of these incredible shows and events? Yeah, with major stars, major talent. He has a ball too. But, look at the staging and the lighting and just what they do to put it all together. It's incredible. We're going to talk about it. You guys know I work in television and radio, stage and film too. So I have a good idea of what it takes to put these kinds of events together. And his company aids in that effort in a huge way. And we're really excited about talking about that. And of course, his music career as well as a great singer and songwriter as well. So in 2009, he purchased CenterStaging, which is located in Burbank, California. And most recently, Scott purchased 67,000 square feet of premier production facility in Nashville called the Steel Mill to accommodate rehearsals for arena shows, as well as any show with large production needs. Probably some of your favorite shows this company has been involved in. Scott divides his time between the four companies, and when available, he enjoys visiting his clients on the road. And on occasion, he will take time to direct or design a show too. In fact, during the pandemic, he actually served as producer of Garth and Trisha Live, Trisha Yearwood, Garth Brooks, which aired on CBS in April. And he also produced Brad Paisley's Seltzer Sessions, and in May, produced and directed the Garth Brooks Drive in concert in June as well. This back in 2020, in August of 2020. Scott directed and co-executive produced the Nashville broadcast segment of the Canadian Country Music Awards. He also executive produced 2 films, one of which starred Golden Globe winner Jennifer Garner. Yeah. Additionally, he enjoys spending a few weeks each year singing in Norway with a Norwegian country band. And in 2019, released a Christmas album titled My Name is Christmas that features Christmas classics as well as original songs written by Scott Scovill. In 2023, he will be releasing a book titled Tenacity. So we're going to have him back when he has the book out too. In his spare time, he travels the world. He's been to well over 60 countries, including Antarctica. He's an avid fan of hockey, and when in Nashville, makes it a priority to attend most Nashville Predators hockey games as well. It's really amazing. He's on the road constantly. He just got back from Europe, and just so he could be here on the Jim Masters Show direct from his studios, he flew back, and then he's headed to Dublin. Now, actually, that would be great if he did that, but I know he would anyway if he could. He's in Nashville right now. He's headed to Dublin to be with Garth Brooks and company, and it's really our pleasure to welcome him to the show, coming to us again from Nashville, Tennessee. So put your hands together, gang. We've got an amazing guest with an amazing story. Again, as much as he is a country music singer-songwriter, he, of course, is founder and creator of Moo TV and Moo Creative and so much more. Scott Scovill is here. We've got him for a brief period because he's packing and he's headed to Dublin. Welcome, my friend, to the show. It's so good to have you here.
What a lengthy intro.
I tell you, you've done a lot.
Scott Scovill loves music and tries to enjoy life as much as he can. And that's my full intro. There we go.
That is your full intro.
And so many other things. God, I
just
have amazing people that help me with the other things.
Oh, boy.
A partner in CenterStaging that really runs it. And so.
How'd you get started? I mean, early on for you, what was your inspiration to fall in love with music, to want to be involved in music and events and creativity in the way that you do so well, Scott?
I've idolized music my whole life. I used to sit and listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 Countdown and get mad when the wrong song would climb the charts. I'd be like, no, that is not the right song. And so I've always just had a huge passion for music. But I will say how I got started was really, I hit rock bottom. I struggled a bunch as a kid and graduated last in my class in high school and went to college and was flunking out of college. And the girl I was seeing was killed in a car accident. And I was just a lost kind of soul, couldn't really put it all together. And so I hit rock bottom. I just felt like I was at the end. Like, what am I going to do now? I'm flunking out of school. And I waited on a tour bus with the space shuttle painted on the side, rolled into the Howard Johnsons that I was waiting at. Wow. And I was such a NASA nut. I was like, I need to wait on them, whoever that is. It must have something to do with space. Yeah. So the hostess agreed, yeah, you can wait on those guys. And they start walking off the bus and they're all have long hair and they're wearing all black. And I'm like, oh, well, they don't look like they work for NASA. So as I'm waiting on, I said, hey, what's the deal with the bus? And in a thick Irish accent, one of them goes, oh, we work for you too. We're the technical staff. And that stunned me. And I'd been really depressed for about 3 months. And I went back to the kitchen and I was just trying to figure out what that could be. And I'm like, so I'll just ask him. So I come back out and I'm like, how do you work for U2? Like, how is that a thing?
Yeah.
I would have thought you had to be Bono's cousin to do that,
Right.
or something. And the one guy laughs and he goes, well, Scott, 7 of us are the very best in the world at what we do. And this is AJ. He's Bono's cousin. So one of them was Bono's cousin. So they're all laughing at him. And AJ and I are still connected to this day. But it blew my mind that you could do something like that.
Yeah.
And it brought me out of a 3-month funk because it was interesting and exciting. And this is right when Joshua Tree was released. So I was like, oh my gosh, U2. They invited me to some shows, and I went to the show, had an amazing time. They were telling me about their jobs and what they do. They said, come back tomorrow. I drove 3 hours home, 3 hours back the next day, and the lights went out and the crowd went wild. And I stood there in the dark and had a paradigm shift. And I'd been diagnosed with fear of failure. I'd just recently seen a psychiatrist and had been diagnosed with a debilitating fear of failure. And I stood there in the dark at rock bottom and said, this is it. This is what you're going to do. You love music, you love travel, you love people, you love technology. Holy cow, this job exists where you can do all that. And so I did one of the toughest things I think I've ever done is I decided to try. I said, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to try. And that was really scary for me. And I started trying, and I haven't stopped trying since. I don't always succeed, but I don't quit if it's something that I care about. And that made the difference and got me over my fear of failure. I say got over. I think it's kind of like being an alcoholic. When you have those deep-rooted fears, you never completely over them, but you start to learn how to beat them, and you just get better and better at it. And so
did you tap into it at all as a way to see it as an energy source to drive you, to keep you motivated and moving?
Yeah. Fear is a fantastic motivator. It's been motivating us since we were cavemen, right?
Yeah.
Fear of starvation, fear of survival. And so I do use fear as a motivator, but I've actually been really trying to change that, particularly lately. Been doing a lot of work on changing my mindset. And that's probably a whole other story for another time, but I'm trying to shift expectation, which is what do I have to do to prove myself, to inspiration. So I'm trying to instead think these days, I don't have to prove myself. What do I want to do and what would make life fun?
Right. What came first for you? Was it creating this fabulous company, Moo TV, Moo Creative, or were you the singer songwriter first, and out of that passion came the desire to want to create events and help assist others in the creation of their amazing events and projects? What came first for you, Scott?
Absolutely, technology. I was told that I couldn't sing when I was a kid, and I believed it my whole life. I've always had a deep voice, and I grew up in the 80s, and Journey's going, don't stop, and everybody, Boston, and all my favorite acts sang in the stratosphere. And I'd try and sing along, and my voice would break, and I'd say, well, I was told I wasn't a singer, and I guess that's true. But I loved it. I would sing when I was in the car. I would sing in the shower. But I never gleaned that I could ever possibly be a singer. So I worked on the technology side. That was how I could contribute and be a part of music. And that's been my life's work and something I'm really passionate about. And I've just loved having a part of all these people's careers. And, when I stood there and had that paradigm shift in the dark, the roar of the crowd is what inspired that.
Oh, yeah.
And so I still to this day love going to one of my act shows. And instead of facing the stage, I'll turn around and face the crowd when I know the lights are about to drop.
Yeah.
And the lights drop, and I just close my eyes and I go, okay, I'm doing my small part with my team to make 15,000 or 60,000 people so happy they scream. And it's just a really cool and fulfilling life, and something that I absolutely love doing with my clients.
It's really incredible. Let's talk about that, and then we'll, of course, talking about your singing and songwriting prowess, but you really get in there and you help facilitate these incredible events and concerts and so much more. Tell us about some of that work and what really goes into it, and some of the incredible projects that you've had an opportunity really to be a part of.
Yeah. It's just, you know, being a part of the Joshua Tree was nuts. I finagled my way onto the tour. I snuck in every day and started working for free and became kind of a mascot out there. But I did learn a trade. I got some advice from those guys, and I learned. I said, how do I get into this? And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I want to do video, because video was new, and so was I at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they said, if you knew how to do this one video projector, it's the worst job in the whole tour. Nobody knows how to do it. Nobody wants to do it. If you know how to do that, you get work right away. And so I took their advice and found a way to learn that video projector. And it was a beast. It was a nightmare to set up, 2.5 hour setup. And the Rolling Stones went out a year and a half later with 12 of them.
Yeah.
And they hired me as the guy to make the projectors right. And I spent the next 13 months at 21 years old, spent 13 months traveling around the world with the Stones. And that was amazing. And when they took breaks, and they would take breaks every now and then, they'd fly me out to Bowie to work on his tour. And so just David did some incredible stuff technology wise on that Sound Vision tour. And one of the big screen moments that would just blow people's minds, I would just remember pulling down on this little fader that would open up the video projectors and turning and looking at the audience and watching them just say, holy, you would see all the explicatives mouthed in that moment. And that's just been incredibly rewarding to be a part of moments like that.
Had you ever meet Ava Cherry? She was she toured with him for a long time with
David?
Bowie. Yeah, and they had a relationship as well, which she talks about in a new book, All That Glitters. And she was a guest on our show as well. She resides in Chicago, an amazing person as well. That must have been great. I mean, what was it like, touring with David Bowie?
I mean, I was the youngest kid on the tour. He was dating Iman at that point.
Yeah.
I was the youngest kid on the tour, and like one of the craziest moment, and it happened a few times, but I'm on the plane. We had a private plane, and they're like, David would like to speak to you. And I'm like, oh, David who? Literally. And they're like, David. And I'm like, David. Oh,
David.
I go back, and he's sitting there with headphones on in the back of the plane. He slides over and pats the seat, and I sit next to him. And this is one of my idols. He turns and looks at me and puts the headphones on my head. And I'm just like this far away from David Bowie with his headphones on, trying to figure out what the hell's happening to me. And my brain was firing so fast, I didn't even realize I was supposed to be listening. So there's this moment where I go like, oh, I'm supposed to be listening. And I touch the headphones, and he laughs and is like, yeah. And he's playing his music for me. And it was the Tin Machine project, which I actually didn't like. And it was before it was released. And he asked me how I felt about it. And I'm like, why is David Bowie asking me this? And I actually expressed to him that I didn't like it very much, that I thought it was probably a band, and that the David Bowie-ness was diluted. He didn't like anything I had to say about it. I didn't like it. And I'm like, what am I doing? And he dismisses me, and I stand up, and he goes, Scott. And I turn to look at him. He goes, you're the youngest kid on the tour. I wanted to know what the kids thought. He said, I am now very confident that you will be honest with me, so we'll be doing more of this. And I'm like, okay. And I walked up to the front of the plane going, I just told my idol I don't like his new music. Like, what have I done? Am I fired? Should I jump out of the airplane? What do I do? And it just turned out, it didn't bother him. He wanted me to say other things, but he appreciated the truth. And that was a great lesson for me early in my career. I think I've tried to be really honest with my artists. And the right ones, the ones you want to work with, will appreciate the truth and value you for that.
What was it like being on tour for a number of years with another country legend, Alan Jackson?
I was his video director for, wait for it, 17 years.
Wow.
I missed 6 shows in 17 years. I got the flu one time, and I had an operation one time. And
good excuses.
I missed 2 3-show weekends. Yeah, it was incredible. I have such tremendous respect for him as an artist. He's a bit of an aloof person. He's a bit hard to get close to. And I felt like I really understood him. and appreciated him. And I was honest with him. Our very first conversation with him, to be honest, I quit in my first conversation with him. And I think he appreciated that. That got us off on the right foot. I told him why I didn't think I belonged there and why I didn't think he wanted me there. And that before he had a chance to fire me, let's start thinking about replacing me with someone that would make him happy, and that I would work very hard towards making him happy. That's how I introduced myself to him, by quitting. He talked me out of quitting. And he confessed that he hated the idea that he had a video director from New York who didn't know country music. And I said, yeah, that was made really clear to me. And he said, but 2 weeks later, I don't ever want to do a show without you. So how do we work this out?
How cool is that, huh?
Well, one of the things he gave me in that conversation was creative control. And I had complete creative control over his show for video and for years. There was a management that came in way later in his career that started chipping away at that a little bit. Not that I really minded. It just got back to a more normal relationship. But having that control really let me be the artist I wanted to be, and I think helped me develop a style as a visual designer and as a video director that I'm just eternally grateful for. And what an amazing career to be a part of. I mean, the guy's a legend. The songs have moved millions. I mean, that's my currency, right? Music moving people. If I can be a part of that, then I'm living a life of value. And to be a part of his career, it's just awesome.
Rolling Stones, you mentioned the Rolling Stones as well. How did that come about? What was that like, Scott?
It was crazy. Like, talk about some aloof. I say aloof. You know, Keith would say hi all the time. Ronnie would say hi. They were, you know, some friendly. Mick never said a word to me in 13 months, except I was at a party. We were on break and I was at David Bowie had a party in Paris. He rented a whole nightclub. And apparently Mick was in town or decided to come to the party. And I round the corner and run into Mick, who's never said boo to me in like 8 months on the tour. And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm cheating on you with David." And he goes, "You coming back?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Good." And he walked away from me. And I thought, I'll be damned, Mick Jagger knows who I am, which is a pretty cool thing for a 21-year-old. But that was it. That was the sum of our interaction in 13 months. But
still amazing.
Mick Jagger, like I didn't expect anything from him other than to be a rock star and awesome. And he was that in spades.
You recently purchased a 67,000 square foot premier production facility in Nashville called the Steel Mill to accommodate rehearsals for arena shows as well as any show with large production needs. Tell us about that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's just so the flood happened in Nashville, and the flood really wiped me out. In 2010, there was a surprise flood. They were predicting certain rises in water level. And unfortunately, on a Sunday evening, the water went way higher than anyone had predicted. And my warehouse went under and I lost about $5 million worth of stuff. Well, that's where I made the insurance stop counting and just pay me. And I only had $1 million in flood insurance and I almost went bankrupt. But Brad Paisely was starting rehearsals the next day. And so not only did I lose most of my company's inventory, but Brad's tour, which had been months in the planning, a very ambitious, very cool technology-packed tour, got submerged the day before rehearsals started.
Wow.
And so I was like, so Nashville Arena was underwater. That's where we were rehearsing. And I had heard that Taylor Swift had rehearsed at this steel mill. And I was like, damn it, where do we go? What do we do? Where do we go? And I'm like, ooh, let's check out the steel mill. And so we moved into this place called, it wasn't called the steel mill, it was a steel mill. And in a pinch, she had rehearsed there and a few others, but it wasn't really, full-time doing that. And I was like, this place is perfect. I need to, if I ever get out of this hole and if my company survives, I'm going to buy this barn. And a few years later, I got out enough to buy it. And so half of it houses Moo TV and the other half houses a place big enough to build a whole arena show in. And so we do a lot of arena shows. We do TV in about a week or two. CMA's Country Christmas is moving in. That TV show shot out of there last year, is shooting this year. It's a cool facility. Yeah, it's a big old barn, and I'm really proud of it. It's a really nice place to get ready for your tour.
It's really cool. I mean, what you've done and what you've turned it into is extraordinary. What was that process like? It had to be, overwhelming at times.
Oh, it's super arduous. I hired the right people, and then I stood back and let them do it. It was so hard.
Yeah, huh?
Honestly, like so much of life is finding the right people and just knowing what you're good at. And so, Craig Stahl runs the steel mill. He's a very organized brain, very like this, then this, then this, and everything has to go in its place. And he is Alan's production manager for decades. Just a super experienced guy who I trust with all of my heart. I love as a friend, and absolutely the right guy to run the place. And he runs it. And honestly, I'll take credit for the desire and the idea and having a vision. But really, what I mostly take credit for these days is knowing when to get out of the way and let the awesome people underneath me do what they're good at that I'm not as good at. I'm not a detail-oriented guy. I'm not the guy who's going to button everything up. I'm going to have an idea and try and inspire everybody to go there and then know when to get out of the way. And that's really what I did there. Craig Stahl's awesome, and we're all really glad I'm not actually running it.
We're taking a look at some incredible photos here too of some of the events and some of the staging, and tell us maybe about some of the things that we're seeing on the screen here.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful work.
Yeah, that's a Sam Hunt show. Who designed that? I don't want to say and get it wrong, but that was a Sam Hunt broadcast during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, artists were trying to, there was like a month of them all doing live stuff from their couch with their guitar.
Yeah.
And then that got a little old, and managers started saying, what do we do? And I was like, hey, why don't we start building sets and doing really arena style? Let's do some real presentation, and you can go in there and you can shoot. So we had artists come in and do like 3 setups. So we might shoot Good Morning America of a song with 1 setup, and then turn the room and do something different and shoot the Kimmel show right afterwards, like an hour later. And then the 3rd hour would be, let's do a different setup and do the YouTube video that we're going to put out for the song. And then let's go over in this room and do some promo stuff that they want done. And so an artist would rent, or an artist management company would rent the place for the day. And, doing that, we made almost nothing compared to what we usually make. But I knew it was just going to be down to the wire to survive the pandemic. I mean, remember, I'm in live entertainment, and we spent 2 years without more than 500 people being able to really come together for a show.
Yeah.
So it was an awful, awful time for us and our company and our employees. And we did our best to get through. So that was how we made a little money in a hard time.
Yeah.
We did some work I'm really proud of, and we made it through by the skin of our teeth.
I mean, look at all this. This is incredible what we're seeing here on the screen, huh?
Yeah. Fun stuff, right?
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's Luke Combs in an arena somewhere. I can't, like, it kind of my face is in front of some of it, so I can't tell what all of it is. But isn't it cool? Like, we had a night in 2019, I looked down and we were, we had a show in 20 something arenas at the same time somewhere in the world. And that's just a really cool feeling to just be a part of all those things,
Now, you also and to see, this is just a little sampling this photo here of what it takes, all the equipment and all the trucks and just everything when you're putting it all together, and, camera people and directors and
Yep, that's Matt.
producers.
She's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
She's
just
a superstar. Yep.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking to pull it off and have it come together. But you just came back from Europe too, and tell us about Spinning Wheels.
Well, that's a band that I perform with some in
Yeah.
Norway, who I just love. My brothers from Norwegian mothers, I call them sometimes. They invited me to play with them many years ago. Frankly, I had several drinks at a party and started singing, and that got us singing together. And they invited me up to perform with them at a bar a night later. And I thought, there's no way, like, I can't sing. This is not going to be good. And I thought there were polite applause. And I went to the bar, and there's this beautiful barmaid who looked like the Dragon Queen. She was so Norwegian, like bright blonde hair, white eyebrows, gorgeous. And And I'm like, I was so nervous, and I'm like, I'll take all the beer, please. Jeez. And I'm looking down going, why did you do that? That was embarrassing. That was awful. And I look back up at her and she goes, I have goosebumps. And I was like, what? And so I guess that's the moment I started to think that maybe I could sing.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even, it doesn't feel like that was that long ago. So you asked if I sang and then got into production. I didn't start singing until I was in my 40s, which, you know, but I loved it, and I've loved music my whole life.
Yeah.
And so when the band asked me to come do some shows with them, absolutely. And then we ended up opening for Brad Paisley, and that's, you know, that's another massive artist in my life and a dear, incredible friend, one of my absolute favorite people. And he was a dear friend and didn't know I was singing. And I absolutely panicked. Like, I was like, oh my God, we're opening for Brad. We got booked first, then the festival booked Brad. And telling him was interesting. Yeah, I'm like, so I'm Norway. And he goes, yeah, you got to come with me. Come with me. You always come with me. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. I'm your opening act. And he did not believe me. And I don't blame him. But yeah, finally he said, sing some Johnny Cash. And I'm like, I sang something. And I was like, he's like, oh my God, you're my opening act. And I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
But he's been incredibly supportive ever since. But that's kind of how it all started with Spinning Wheels. But they do albums without me. They're a fantastic band. They're working on some new music right now. I do albums without them. When we're near each other, we love each other. We're brothers, we're friends, we perform together, but we do stuff separate from each other too. I just did Sweden without them, put a band together in Sweden that was awesome and had a great time. And I've got a show in Japan coming up that I'm going to use Kinsey Rose's band for. So, you know, yes, I love my Spinning Wheels brothers, but they are very much a band in their own right, and we do stuff separate.
You do. You've got some material out there, which I think is really cool for people to see. Tell us about this one here.
Well, don't listen to that one. So listen to the new version of it. That's the old album cover. You know, I'm just trying to figure out being an artist. I get uncomfortable when you call me an artist. I'm like, I'm not an artist. I'm a guy that
you are.
People famous who also loves music. So I guess I have to admit that I'm now an artist. And
you're humble.
I just don't want people to get confused. I don't want my artists or managers I work with or anyone to think, well, can't count on Scott anymore because he's being an artist. Scott, like
William Shatner thinks you're great.
I think Will is great. He's one of my heroes. And thanks to Brad, I've spent a lot of time with him. He and Brad Paisley are great friends. And so it's really fun. I've spent a lot of time with Will, which is amazing to me. He's my first hero, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, exactly.
Yeah. But no, it's just
There's
fun,
another one,
you know?
Rusty Cage.
Yeah, that one's new, and I'm really proud of that. It's a Soundgarden song, but Johnny Cash did it. And then I did a version where Evan Hutchins, who just won, who gave him, ACM gave him Musician of the Year or Drummer of the Year. But Evan Hutchins was my drummer on that. I'm like, Evan, I want to do like a jungle rhythm on this. And Brent Mason's band leader on it. And they're both kind of like, and I'm like, just try it. Like, I think it could be cool.
Right.
And they go in there and I'm like, yeah. And like 2 or 3 tries in, I'm like, yeah. And Evan's like, actually, this is fun. And I'm really happy with that version of it. I thought it was really came out well. It's fun to sing. I mean, you're just belting it out. I love to almost yell when I sing. It's not always when I sound the best, but on that song, you can yell it and sound good.
Not So Silent Night.
That was fun. I love Christmas.
Yeah, me too.
You see me wearing a Christmas suit there, I assume. Yeah. I have like 50 Christmas suits every day from Thanksgiving until Christmas. I wear at least a sport coat, at least one a day. And I absolutely love Christmas. Got that from my mom. And love Christmas music.
My Name is Christmas.
Yeah, that album I did with the City of Prague Philharmonic.
Did you really?
I flew to Prague and brought my producer, Luke Wooten, who's one of my best friends and one of my favorite people on the planet. And I said, Luke, I'm going to bring you to Prague to do this. We're
Yeah.
gonna have a blast, but I get to pick what you wear. So I put him, like, the day we were in the studio, I put him in a shirt that said, "Don't get your tinsel in a tassel." Like, we wore Christmas clothes, and it's July, when of course you don't make Christmas albums at Christmas time. So we're walking around Prague in
6
July,
months
and people are
before,
coming up
yeah.
going, "Why are you wearing Christmas clothes?" Like, good question.
It happens. You got to get it. You're ahead of the game like 6 months before. So are you enjoying the music making as much as you are helping facilitate things for others? I know you're very humble about it, but people really enjoy it. And, you're noted for it as well. Do you enjoy that aspect? I know you say it's like a gig, a side hustle, that type of thing, but the more people hear it, they're loving it.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
I love it, and I love performing. I don't know. It's just when you go out there, all of a sudden it clicks. A lifetime of watching the masters perform, and so I just steal some of their moves and some of their stuff, and to walk out on stage in front of, when you're lucky enough to open for a Brad Paisley, it's like 10,000 people out there, and to walk out on stage and just belt into a song you wrote and hear the crowd react is one of the most incredible feelings in the world. So I love it. I love it so much. But I just worry that, everybody needs to know that I'm definitely on the job helping them too. And I've heard some rumblings. They're definitely, Nashville's a small town. We all know each other. I sit on the CMA board and the ACM board of directors. And I've heard some people, friends of mine, have come to me and said, so this person was like, what the heck is Scovill doing? Does he think he's an artist now? Or is he, And so I had an artist ask me directly. And I said, it's really simple. Do you have kids? And he goes, I have kids. I said, do you have a wife? And he goes, I have a wife. You get along great with my wife. I'm like, yep. You spend time with them? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, of course you should, because you love it and you love them. And it's like life to you, and it's fulfilling. And he goes, yeah. I go, I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I love music, and I spend time with it because I love it and it's fulfilling. And so they were like, okay, I'm 1,000% behind you. What can I do to help? And I'm like, that's it. That's all you had to do was say, you get it. So that's all I need. I don't need to help. I just hope that everybody understands that I'm here for the same reason everybody's in this industry, because we love it. And I hope that people don't forget that they're in it because of the music and they love it, because making music has helped me remember that.
Absolutely. You on occasion, you'll take time also to direct or design a show, as you mentioned. And during the pandemic 2020, you served as producer of Garth and Trisha Live. Tell us about that. That aired on CBS.
Yeah. So really, the scary thing about that, so the pandemic hits, and I really felt from the get-go it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
In late February, I had a meeting with my business manager and said, what would it take for us to survive a year without income? And she's like, oh shit. And I'm like, yep. Let's just look at it. Like, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But they're not able to contain this in Wuhan. And if they can't contain it there, we're just all too connected for it to not run rampant. And politicians are going to do the safe thing because they don't want to get caught not doing the safe thing. They'll err on the side of caution. And I just think we're looking at our world getting shut down. And so, so like, how do we pivot? I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, we were talking about the special you did on CBS with Garth and Trisha.
So March 9th, my world pretty much shut down. I was at dinner with Judy Seal, amazing agent, promoter, awesome lady, and Kinsey Rose, a fantastically talented artist who was on The Voice last year. And we were having dinner to talk about this Japan show that she had booked me on, which still hasn't happened because pandemic, April. And her phone and mine started lighting up, and almost all of our lives shut down in that day. 80% of what I had shut down in that day, and the other 20% came really quickly. And so you're sitting there at home trying to figure out how to take care of everybody, and just getting the scope of this and going, I've got 140 employees. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? And how do I take care of these people as best I can? Because there's no permutation where they get paid through the, how long is this going to run? All that. And the phone rings like a week later, and it's Garth. And I'm like, hey, buddy. And he goes, hey, people are scared. Trisha and I want to do a special. We think it'd be cool. And we want you to produce it. And he said, on your job is number 2, you're a producer. Number 1, your job is to keep everybody safe that's involved in it. And he said, that's why I want you to do it, because I feel like you'll keep everybody safe. And I'm like, okay. And I said, what's the date? He said, April 1st. And I'm like, okay, is this not an April Fool's joke? He said, it's not. And so he said, I'm going to hang up with you, and Jack Sussman from CBS is going to call you, one of the vice presidents there. I'm like, okay. He hung up. Jack called and said, you ready to do this? And I said, of course not, but I will be. And I have to figure out what our protocols are. So we did the first event in the pandemic period. April 1st, trying to put a TV show on, national live TV, prime time. And it was scary, but we did it with, I think, a 9-man crew. I mean, a broadcast television show. We had remote cameras that were loaded in the day before. The whole room was like sprayed down and sterilized. We had all these long cables, and we had an operator sitting in a room with all the remote camera controls, and he was isolated. The sound man was isolated. The TV truck, I brought my tour bus in and produced out of my tour bus. So they just ran a cable to my bus and gave me a monitor and gave me headsets and put me on comms. So I loaded all that into the living room of my tour bus. The TV truck usually has 9-10 people in it. We had 2 people in it, I think. It was just skeleton crew, as few people as possible, and as much as we could, nobody get near anybody. And so that was scary, but exciting and fun and rewarding. I felt like Garth said, the whole country was scared.
Yes.
And he and Trisha, I thought, did a fantastic job of bringing people together. And for the millionth time in my life, I was just so honored to play some small role in it. And anytime you do anything with Garth and Trisha, it's just an incredible honor. And so it was awesome. And then we did a Christmas special also later in the year, but we did 2 CBS specials. So great.
You also directed and co-executive produced the Nashville broadcast segment of the Canadian Country Music Awards, and also executive produced 2 films, one of which stars Golden Globe winner Jennifer Garner. Tell us about that.
She's a horrible person, just so terribly mean.
I tell you,
she's a dream. She's just the girl next door who happens to be incredibly beautiful and talented and sweet. And I just thought Jen was amazing. And I don't want to talk like I'm her best friend, but I had enough interaction with Jen to just say, like, wow, Jennifer Garner is amazing. And, you'd sit there, like we're shooting a scene in a hospital, and I'm sitting there with the headphones on and a monitor in the next room, and she's acting, and I'm just bawling. And I'm like so ashamed that I'm crying, because I literally just had lunch with her. So I know she's fine. Right? Like I sat across from her at lunch. She's fine, but she's just an act. She's got me, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I don't want anyone to see me crying. So I turn around, and everybody was crying. All of us working on the film. She's just an amazing actress. What an incredible woman. And just so how cool to be there.
Well, how'd you like touching, the film world and being involved in film? That's a whole other beast, huh?
I love it. I want to do everything. I just want to do everything in the world. I want to live the most interesting life I can, right? I got one.
Sounds like you're doing that already.
Trying. I'm having fun trying, right? And so I want to make a film. My best friend Hunter and I wrote a film together, and my hope was to learn about film, but I didn't want to go to film school. So I thought, well, I'll executive produce a couple films. So executive producer, for those of you who don't know, is really kind of the money behind the film very often. And so I wrote, all I did was write a check. But with the understanding that I would be able to have full access. And so it was like a behind the scenes look at 2 movies, that. And I spent like 6 weeks in India doing a dance film too, that was amazing. And I learned and said, okay. I mean, the most important thing is just hire the right people. So I started to figure out what the roles were, and I just knew all I had to do was know enough to know the lay of the land. And so my plan was in the fall of 2020 to shoot the first 10 minutes of our film and see if we were able and good enough, and if it was going to fly. And if so, try and shoot the rest of the film, which was set in Ireland the next year. But the pandemic not only put the brakes on that, but it took away all the disposable cash for the foreseeable future. So don't hold your breath for my next film. I can still afford albums. There'll be some of those, and I can afford to sit down and write my book. So I'll do that, and hopefully someday I can make my movie. We'll see.
That'd be cool. I mean, we'll keep definitely a watch out for that as well. Again, like I said in the introduction, you really got your hands in so many different things. And one of the things that you do is you travel, and you travel for, Moo TV and Moo Creative, also with your own performances as well. Some 59, 60 countries, including Antarctica. Before you tell us about the rest, tell us about what was happening in Antarctica.
Well, first, I want to say that it takes one to know one. You have your hands in so many things, Jim. And you're a man after my own heart. It's so great to get to know you through this, because I get you. You're having fun. You're doing all sorts of things. You're connecting people. Like, what a cool thing it is to be Jim. And it's good to get to know you a little bit. That said,
Appreciate that. As my father has always said, whenever anybody says something, he told us this when we were kids too. Whenever anybody says something kind or nice to you, ask them to please put it in writing and address it management. It's a great line, huh?
I love that. Yeah.
My Irish dad from New York, with his humor.
Fantastic.
That's a good one.
So,
but I thank you for those words.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. So Antarctica, 59 countries so far. I'd be well into the 60s if it weren't for the pandemic. A lot of plans got kibbutzed, but hands down, my favorite thing I've done is Antarctica, and it's really hard to go, and it's pricey, and that's because it's worth it, and it takes a lot of time, which is all of our most valuable currency, and it's worth it. So anybody listening, if you have any idea that you might want to go, please go. It had everything. I mean, the trip down was exciting and dangerous.
Was it a concert event, or
no? Just wanted to go.
Just wanted to go. Yeah.
Didn't go with anybody I knew. Put a word out on like a message board for this thing called Summit, which is was formed as a group of out of the box thinkers, but has a lot of members. And put a word out that I wanted to go if anybody wanted to go. And the guy reached right back out and said, I'm putting a trip together. So I went with 10 people from Summit, but I had never met any of them. And so we get on the boat, and we're sailing out of Ushuaia, southern tip of South America, that's a couple days to get there. And we're having dinner for the first time, and the captain gets on, and this story takes a second, but I think it's worth it. He's Romanian, I think. He's like, why is this man the captain of this ship? And by the way, I had gleaned that they had just lost a boat and covered it up and didn't tell anyone. So they had just sank a boat. And I gleaned this on a website that I went to that said, whatever you do, do not go to Antarctica with these guys, the cheapest guys, which is, of course, who I went with. And so the captain goes, okay, you can hear the mic sort of crumpling around and whatever. And, okay, I hope everybody enjoyed the dinner. Right. So he's not a good people person. He goes, very soon we will be leaving the shelter of South America. The seas, they will be bad. Maybe you think you don't get seasick. I assure you, you have never seen anything like what we are heading into. Certainly not in a vessel of this kind. I urge you, take the pills, put on the patch, wear the wristbands, keep your eye on the horizon. Once you get seasick, it's very hard to not be seasick, and we are 46 hours before we get through.
46 hours.
And guess what? You're not kidding. It was wild. 50-foot waves, top to bottom, boat, 56-foot beam boat.
Wow.
312 feet long. I mean, we just were like,
How'd you survive it?
it was, I loved it. I think
You loved it, yeah.
I did. Spending so much of my life on it. So seasickness is when there's motion that you perceive that visually doesn't match what you see.
Right.
And that's what gets you seasick.
You got to look out at the horizon, right? They say look out at the horizon.
Yeah. And I have spent my life on a tour bus, which is constantly moving and you can't see most of the time. So I think I was uniquely set for it because almost everybody was wildly seasick. And there were a handful of us that just were like, this is the coolest thing ever. But it was crazy. Like the boat just going up, 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 up. And then it would hit this tipping point and go down, 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 down. And then it would hit the water. And when the bow would hit the water, it would shudder. And that's what would get everybody, the shudder. You'd see people go like, oh God. And it was awesome. So it was amazing getting there. It was really scary. Love that. It's stunningly beautiful. Like you think of the North Pole is just ice.
Yeah.
Antarctica is extremely rocky. Extremely. So there's all these rocky peaks and mountains and 100-foot high, 300-foot high walls of ice that are crashing down as it's melting because we were there in ice season. We went in November, December, beginning of December. And that's when the sun starts not setting. So it just starts slowly warming up and the ice just starts melting. And penguins are in mating season. They're all grabbing stones and making nests and trying to win over mates. And
play any hockey down there?
No, didn't see any flat ice anywhere.
No.
Lots of snow, lots of deep snow. There were some pictures of me like up to here in snow, and you're like, yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's scary. The wildlife is amazing.
What was the scariest part? Getting there or getting there? And then what about getting back? Was it the same thing?
No. Right after us, the trip back again was even worse than ours. They had the perfect storm and they had waves coming from two directions. And one of them punched a window out of the lower hull of the boat and they were taking on water. And
wow.
So it was even worse. But right before and right after a storm is some of the calmest seas you'll have. And it was really smooth our whole way back. But we left early to beat it. Yeah.
You did, huh?
We left. Yeah, I wasn't supposed
to make sure that.
But I was friends with the first mate, pretty good friends with them. And yeah.
What are some exciting things, other exciting things you have coming up for Moo TV, Moo Creative, and also for you as a performer?
Well, you already touched on it, but we've got Garth in Ireland, and that's a show that's been a long time coming, and a show that is important to him, and that man is important to me. And so if it's important to him, I'm excited about being there. I cannot wait. And I think it's important to Ireland too. Those shows tried to happen 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it didn't happen. The person booking them booked too many nights, and there was some discussion of doing fewer shows, and the decision was made, if we can't do all of them, we won't do any of them because we don't want to leave people out. And so we're finally back. We finally get to do these shows. I know it means a lot to him. And for that, it means a lot to me. And who doesn't love Ireland? I mean, it's one of the greatest countries, full of the sweetest people. And it's just fun. So it's just going to be one of those moments where I remember how lucky I am and just sit there and watch, Garth and the crowd have the time of their lives and just be like, cool, I get to be a part of this.
Do you ever sometimes feel like you're just floating on air?
I feel really lucky sometimes, that's for sure.
We're showing an image of you. It looks like you are floating on air with other guys. Yeah.
Astronaut training. Highly recommend that too. That's almost as expensive as Antarctica, and it only lasts 2 hours. But I did astronaut training. So you get in a decent sized jet, 737, and you fly parabolic curves. And that's how NASA trained the astronauts in the early days. The plane launches you full throttle this way, and then throttles back, and you start being weightless somewhere around here in the curve, and it follows the same parabola that you would if you were fired out of a missile with no air resistance. Fired out of a gun with no air resistance.
That's incredible.
There is none inside.
Yeah.
And so you're very much under the gravity, but everything around you and the air is falling at the same speed as you.
Mm.
And so you get to experience weightlessness. And that's a perspective I really wanted. Like you and I are sitting here, and anyone listening to this is sitting in their chair or standing, and you just feel gravity pulling you into your chair. And it's something
Hmm.
you've never felt like you've escaped. Even if you were swimming and you jumped off of, like, a 20-foot cliff, the moment you jump, the air starts whistling past your ears and it's got you. And so my other best friend, David, and I went and did that, and we got to experience what it's like to be free of gravity, which I think was a powerful thing for me physically and metaphorically. It just, as a space nut, it pinged the dreamer in me a little bit, but it also changed my perspective a little bit. And I hope the next perspective shift I can have like that would be to maybe look back at Earth from space. And I really hope to do that someday.
Would you ever do that? You pay a few bucks like William Shatner did, and you go up in space for a little bit.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
A few bucks. It's more than $10 now, I think. So I
It's
might wait for it to
definitely
come
more
down.
than $10. Yeah.
I
A
might wait
little
for it
bit.
to come down a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think it'll get very affordable within my lifetime, I think.
So this is really exciting, this company, Moo TV and Moo Creative. And it's the work that you do is really extraordinary. And people sometimes, they don't realize what goes into all of the staging. And then, it's these industries we're in, it's the key is to make it all look easy breezy and everything is smooth as silk. But there's so much work that goes into preparation and planning and making sure that everything comes off right. When you
Yep.
say, yeah.
Yeah. There's just a hierarchy. So if you're a Moo TV client, we've got a crew out with you, and that crew has a crew chief, and that person runs that crew and is responsible to make sure that everything's executed properly. Above him, there's a project manager that is a more senior person who's involved with interfacing and making sure all of our right inventory and equipment gets together and scheduling. And then, we've got Travis, the general manager there. So there's a whole hierarchy of really talented, amazing people at Moo TV that make all these things work. Back in the day, I was very hands-on, and rightfully, I'm nowhere near as hands-on now. I'm more involved as a CEO role. I'm more of a visionary, and I guess the other role is I really enjoy the relationships, inward and outward. So I really enjoy spending time with my clients, making sure I know what they need, and I then enjoy getting with my team and conveying that to them.
Which is really cool.
Those are the things that I'm good at and I enjoy, and so I'm grateful that I've built the company to the size where those are the things that I do, and just try and set the general course. Like what is Moo TV? Who is really more about it. It's more about the people. We're very selective about personalities, and it's way more important than talent. Talent can come. You can learn talent. You're probably not going to learn a personality. And we're that way with our artists too. Like our artists are people that I love and respect, and those are the people I've gone after, and so what we just picked up Walker Hayes. His song's goofy, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And my dear friend Lindsay, who does his makeup, I called her and said, "Tell me about Walker." And she's like, "Oh my God, you have to do him. He's the nicest person on the planet. His wife's the greatest. His family's the greatest. They're like so nice." And I just think that I don't know if Walker is going to keep being successful, but I hope so. And I would like to be a part of trying to help that. And I met with his production manager, who was great. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's invest in Walker Hayes and let's see what he can do next. And so, we try and pick our people like that. I love my clients. I love Garth. I can't name them all. There's a million of them, but I'm friends with a lot of them and really enjoy spending time with them. Play hockey with Dirk Bentley, although both of us are guilty of not having played in a few years. Pandemic kind of squished that, but hopefully I get back out there soon.
That's so cool, huh? Wow. What about you as far as what you have coming up? Singing, songwriting, again, the side hustle, as you call it.
Yeah. I'm just gotta be careful. And I really do. It's important to me. it's important to me that I get to make music that I love, and I'm so grateful to my producer Luke and engineer Austin and Brent Mason and the team and the band and all that. And so that will never end for me. And I absolutely love doing shows, but I think it's safest if I just do shows in Europe and Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Because that's a finite market. And so my dream of my balanced life is that I really work on normal business until the summer, and I release an album just before the summer comes out, which is what I did this year, and then go on tour to support it, which is what I did this year. So I went and opened for Brad Paisely for a few shows, but really kind of put a limit to it. There's a festival in Denmark that wanted me to perform 2 weeks from now, and I backed out just because I've done a bunch of that right now.
Yeah.
So just trying to have some balance. So what's currently happening is I'm focusing on Moo TV, and what's next. I think I'm really keen to finish my book.
Yeah.
And so I'll finish my book probably in the near future. It's almost done. It really just needs to be downsized now. My editor says I have to make it half as long.
Yeah.
Wow, that's going to be hard. Like, which part of your body do you cut off?
What do you cut
like,
off? Well, definitely keep us posted on that, because we'll have you back probably even before that too. But when the book is out, that's really exciting news. I want to show people mootv.com and scottscovill.com websites. A lot of cool things happening. Scott, this was fantastic. And real quick before we head out, Mr. George Burns is with us. He always pops in. There he is. He's always popping in with his cigar and his red hanky. He sends you the best. He said you knocked it out of the park on the Jim Masters show today. And he thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, my friend, and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you, Scott. This was terrific.
Ditto. What's the catchphrase again? It's lovity?
Lovity, yes, exactly.
So there needs to be a song. Lovity. I don't know. I'll work on that. I'll get back to you.
I was going to say, yeah, they probably like, oh, let's hear his voice a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's
Tune
it.
into my music. Go onto Spotify and Apple and all those places.
That's all there. Amazon, Spotify, iTunes. Exactly. You're the best. This was terrific. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll definitely keep the porch light on for you, Scott, and spread the word about the Jim Masters show. A pleasure having you with us today, and congratulations on all the success and continued success and blessing and joy in your life. Obviously, you're enjoying the ride. You really appreciate it. Realize that, life is fleeting and precious, and you're maximizing it to the best that you know how. And I think that's awesome, my friend.
Have fun.
That's what it's all about. You take care. We'll chat again soon. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you, Jim. Jim, you're awesome.
I appreciate that, and enjoy Ireland.
I will.
That's it. Have a Guinness on me.
All right. Deal. Cheers.
Take care, Scott. Cheers. Scott Scovill here on the Jim Masters Show. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Really amazing talking with him about all these cool things. He's got a couple of things that he does, like running 4 different companies. Country music singer, songwriter. Yes, look for his music on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon, everywhere else. But also having this incredible company, Moo TV and Moo Creative, where he's helping facilitate a lot of these incredible concert events and arena events for major people. Like he said, he's worked with Brett Paisely. Of course, we talked about Alan Jackson earlier, David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, Garth Brooks, and many, many, many more. And we were just scratching the surface of folks that he's had an opportunity to work with. He's really amazing, and it was really terrific having him here on the show. And it's always great having you guys on the show as well. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We thank Scott for being with us. Country music singer, songwriter, founder, creator of Moo TV, Moo Creative as well. You're watching the Jim Masters Show. Thanks for being with us, gang. Always a pleasure. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, and leave a comment on our channel. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment for us as well. We really, really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. easy breezy to do. And for all of us here at the Jim Masters Show, we thank you very much for being with us. I am your host, Jim Masters. Thanking you for your time this time till next time. Take care, be well. We don't say goodbye here. We say see you later. Moi loop, sláinte, cheers, ciao, auf Wiedersehen, hasta la vista, and sayonara, shalom, and everything else. You guys be well. Take care of one another. Be good to one another. And be good to yourself. And thanks for watching this episode of the Jim Masters Show. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment, like, and celebrate what we're doing here. Entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series, bringing back the lost art of conversation. Good being with you. Thanks for being with us, and spread the word about our show. See you on the next episode right here on the Jim Masters Show. Cheers.